Hey yo guys, what's up and welcome back to Toe Tags Metal Reviews, and today we're checking out the new releases from Blood Red Throne, Static X, Caligula's Horse, and Deviloof. So that's 3 LPs and an EP. So I'm going to start with what I started my day with, and that's Nonagon by Blood Red Throne. So we've covered Blood Red Throne on the channel before.
We did a while ago with Imperial Congregation.
That's right. Did we review it, or was that just a first impressions? That I don't remember.
We did not review that album.
No.
There was one very notable track that we both enjoyed, which was 6-7.
Yeah.
That's the most memorable part of that album.
I think the whole album was pretty good.
The whole album was good,
was a
but that
standout track.
That was the standout track, you know, the big part. So, you know, every time I'd think of this band, I'd remember that album art and remember that track. So here they are with a brand new album.
Yeah.
What did you think?
So I thought it was pretty good. So my takeaway from this band is riffs. This band, to me, these guys just know how to write good riffs. And that's kind of what I got from this album over and over and over again. Good riffs, good riffs, good riffs, good riffs. There's a few other good things on it. There's some cool vocal stuff, like in the very first track, Epitaph Inscribed. It starts with this intro and then has this really cool growl, almost like a pig squealy kind of growl. I like stuff like that, but then it's just followed up by good riffs. Some songs that stood out because the riffs were so good. Track number 3, Seeking to Pierce, I thought was really cool. Tempest Sculptor, which was track number 4. Track number 5, Every Silent Plea. Just riffs after riffs after riffs. I couldn't get enough of it. Another song that stood out was Split Tongue Sermon. Not only is that a really cool title for a track, but again, the track's just badass. These guys just write really badass heavy tunes that are just kind of like in the vein of standard death metal. But it just works, man. It's just like one of those albums you could just put on, crank it, and enjoy it. The fault for me is that there's not a lot of creativity going on. There's not a lot that makes it stand apart from other bands similar in the genre. Yes, it's got good riffs. Vocally, it's got some range and some diversity on it, but not a lot. But it just lacked some creativity. It lacks some punch. Like, as you see, I don't have a lot to say about it. I'm talking about riffs, I'm talking about being heavy and whatever. I don't have a lot of notes other than that. And that's the fault, is I couldn't really find much to write about and talk about. So
It's very straight up and straightforward death metal.
yeah.
But one thing I feel like this album has above a lot of these straight up and straightforward death metal albums is vocal variety. We have a pretty common complaint with a lot of death metal albums where the vocals are just the same thing.
Yeah.
They're too consistent and they don't really change anything up.
Yeah.
This album has lows, highs, screams, like it's got a mix of stuff, and that keeps you engaged. It keeps you from getting bored of just the same growl happening always.
That's right.
And I like that a lot. I also really like the opening track, especially considering that it explodes with this slow burn mean riff. This is like the kind of track you would use as a wrestling entrance theme.
Yeah.
Mean, I love that. Then it gets going faster, and it keeps that faster pace, which is cool. There's a part of Tempest Sculptor, there's a little bass bit that plays before the breakdown. Thought that was awesome, and keep the topic on the bass, there is a bass solo in Every Silent Plea before the guitar solo, which is really cool, and I really like how they arranged that entire section of the song. You have that bass solo, then you have the guitar solo that kind of like goes back and forth between the guitar and the vocals, not in a trading sense, but you got a bit of guitar, then you hear some of the vocals, and then the guitar continues the solo. So I thought that was pretty cool. I guess on the more unique side, I don't really hear death metal songs do the stuff like that, so I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, overall, you said strong riffs. I agree with that. Solid album. You can't really pick out too much more that's super duper stand out because it is very straight up, straightforward death metal, but it is good death metal. This is the kind of album I would totally put on if I just want mean death metal. You can put on any Blood Red Throne, you can put on this album specifically.
It's gonna do the job.
It's gonna do the job, exactly.
Yeah. All right.
What's next?
On to the next one. We're gonna go with Static X, Project Regeneration Volume 2. So Volume 1 came out in 2020.
It did.
It's been a while. I thought it was sooner than that. I thought it came out in 2022. My memory sucks, and I actually have no gauge of time, apparently. But yeah, 4 years ago, which is, we're pushing 4 years, 3.5 years.
And you know, it's funny, both that album and this album got delayed. This was supposed to come out in November.
Right.
Got delayed to now.
Yeah.
So what did you think of this, and what did you think of it compared to Volume 1?
I think, compared to Volume 1, I think they're both kind of in the same pocket, really. Like, so me, I was a fan of Static X back in the Wisconsin Death Trip era, like most people when they kind of emerged onto the scene. But my love for the band kind of ended with that album, to be honest. Like, everything they put out after that, I kind of was like, this is okay, but it's not the same. This is okay, but it's not the same. Not Machine.
Damn.
Not, like, there's a couple songs that they released later on that I was like, okay, this is a good single, that's a good track. But, I don't know, I just fell out of love with the band. So, these albums didn't, like, reinvigorate anything in me, okay? I still like the band, I think they're good, but there's just something about my 13 or 14-year-old teen angst attitude back in the day that was really attracted to it that's just not there anymore. So with that said, I still thought there was some good stuff on this album. So tracks like Take Control, for example, which is track number 7. I thought this is one of those songs that 13-year-old me would love, would just die over. I felt like it had a bit of Cold Chamber vibes on this song, and that was something that I found interesting, that it didn't really sound I mean, it sounded like Static X, but it gave me feelings of another band, which is not something Static X has really ever done to me before. But another song that did this to me was track number 2, Zombie, which has a really hooky chorus. But to me, this song sounds like Rob Zombie, which is fitting, I guess.
I mean, that song, we did react to the video for that, and neither of us really liked it when we reacted to it.
We didn't. But the thing is, like, the chorus is catchy, and sometimes you can't help but like a catchy chorus. Another thing I found interesting, and you could check this out if you didn't catch it, but at the 123 mark, there's actually a sample or something that sounds like it's pulled from Dragula. So not only does the whole song, it sounds like a sample from Dragula. The song in total sounds like a Rob Zombie track, and it's called Zombie. So I don't know if that's all coincidence, or if it's an odd or a node or whatever. What do you call it? An homage or whatever. I don't know. Some other stuff that stood out, Run For Your Life, I thought was pretty good. Kamikaze, I thought was a pretty good track. Yeah, that's about it. Those are my highlights, and they're basically highlights because those songs just had the best energy to them, right? There wasn't anything specific that really stood out. Just good energy, some catchy hooks. Overall, it sounds fine, right? You can tell that these are B-side tracks, or B-side songs or throwaway songs that were recorded by Wayne way back in the day. You can kind of tell that's the case. What I'm looking forward to more is brand new material. Let Edsel do the vocals, have brand new material with new singing, don't recycle old stuff, and just have a new Static X album. That's what I would prefer.
That would be interesting.
I would prefer it. I know they're trying to, like, immortalize Wayne and all that stuff. They've done that. I think they've done that and they did a good job.
Even with, the Zero, character and persona, they're immortalizing Wayne that way.
Exactly. Plus with these 2 albums, the tour they did, they've done enough.
They're still touring now.
They're still touring. Well, they got this second album they got to tour.
Yeah.
But I feel like they've done enough. I feel like they've done a justice to Wayne's legacy. I feel like they can move on from this, record a new album, and I think fans would appreciate it. I don't think they would get backlash from it. At least personally, I don't think so. And I think I'd be more inclined to be on board with that new, fresh Static X stuff.
All right, interesting. That's an interesting take. I haven't really heard anyone really consider that yet. Now, I loved Project Regeneration Volume 1. I gave it a toe tag when we reviewed it 4 years ago. Thought it was great. Thought the tracks were great. The energy was great. Almost every single song was a banger. Do I feel like they captured the same energy and vibe with this one? Unfortunately, the answer is no. I felt like, I guess kind of similar to you, that most of these tracks felt like B-side tracks. They felt like B-side level tracks. Tracks that I think, yeah, it's fine, I guess, but it doesn't hit. But there are some songs that did. There are some really good tracks on this album. First one that caught me as like, oh yeah, this is good, is Jick Boy. It kind of gave me...
Just in case boy.
Just in case boy.
That's what it stands for. I don't want to be your just in case boy. That's what he's saying in the lyrics. It's so bad.
Either way, it had some of the vibe that I saw in Volume 1, and I liked that. And the synth in the chorus was kind of reminding me of Cold from Machine, which I think is a sick album. I'm just kind of surprised that you weren't into that one. But Other tracks that I enjoyed, I thought No Hope was one of the better tracks, and the bass focused riff at the start was pretty cool. I enjoyed Take Control. That's definitely one of the best tracks on the album. It's got this slow burn to it, but I feel like I've heard this kind of slow burn style track multiple tracks on the album. It's just this was the best one.
Oh, okay.
So it just kind of outshines the other ones. It makes the other ones look pointless.
Yeah.
Tone has, ironically enough, a pretty cool tone to it. I like the riff and the vibe of that one. And the electronic stuff really hit on that track because I feel like they've been doing that a lot with Project Regeneration, just both volumes. I feel like it hit with this specific track. I liked that, and I liked Run for Your Life as well. So I remember there was one track, and I mentioned this before, that Disco Otsego was like the only track that I heard when they posted like this big teaser of all the tracks.
Yep.
That was the only one I was excited for.
Right.
I still think it's good.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. They used samples that were used in I'm With Stupid in this track, which bugged me because it's like, why do that? Now, they did that in the first track of Volume 1, but that was an intro track, and I feel like it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it's like, we're back, this is the revival, and then it's like referencing the history. But to do it in this one, like, I don't see exactly why.
Just tapping into it, I guess.
Maybe, but it's just like, even so, it doesn't ruin the track. It's just something that kind of annoyed me, but it's still a good track and I enjoyed it. I feel like that song could fit on Volume 1. Volume 1 did have an Otsego track, which is the one that we reacted to, which was really confusing.
That it came out.
It came out
recently.
Like the video recently, but the song 4 years ago, and this album is just about to come out. But
very confusing.
Either way, that is one of the tracks I liked. So the issue I kind of had with this album is that, like, okay, that was it. Everything else just kind of felt like, it was all right, I guess. So it was really kind of like half pretty good, half like, whatever. So it's unfortunate, but I do think Volume 1 is definitely much stronger than Volume 2.
Fair enough. On to the next album of the day. We're going to talk about Charcoal Grace by Caligula's Horse. So this is an album that, when I was looking at the new release schedule for the year, and we keep track of all the new releases, at least we do the best we can, and I saw this name, and I went, that's an interesting name, Caligula's Horse. Wonder what they sound like. In my head, I thought, it's probably going to be a prog band, and I was right. This band's a prog band. But I checked them out a while ago, and to me, I thought it was a little bit on the boring side. But still like to give everything a fair chance when it comes out. So put on the album, and my, I guess, worst fears came to reality. It sounded to me like just typical prog, but I'm very iffy on prog. There's some prog that I just don't like because I find it boring, and there's some prog that I love because it just has those elements and that perfect formula. So it just catches my attention.
Like, what's the style of prog that appeals to you? Like, what's an example of
I don't know. Look at
album?
some prog albums that we've reviewed and I've given good scores to, and you'll get it from there. But putting me on the spot right now, I can't think of one. But anyways, this is the kind of prog that I was more inclined to be like, eh. And I think one of the reasons is because they do a lot of this like really mellow stuff, and then it gets really heavy for a part of the song, and then it's really mellow, and then it gets really heavy again, and it's kind of really roller coastery, which I'm okay with. But when bands do it too much, it becomes just like a regurgitated, like, okay, they're doing it again, they're doing it again, they're doing it again. So that was kind of like my first impression of the album, okay? It's still kind of my overall impression, but there's stuff that I liked. So, track number 2 is probably the best track on the album as far as my listen. I listened to this album twice. Track number 2, I really like the rhythmic patterns the song starts with. It's just really cool. It's proggy stuff, but it stands out. It's creative. The thing that I thought was the most interesting about this track was the vocals reminded me of Michael Jackson, which, you know what, when I first listened to it, it reminded me of is the cadence and just, it's kind of like each syllable is very breathy, but there's a lot of force behind them. And if you listen to it again, you'll know what I mean by saying that. And Michael Jackson has a lot of songs where he sings like that, where the syllables are like, kind of thing, right? But there's a lot of force behind them, right? And it's just a very like powerful cadence going. And I really like that. I was like, wow, this is cool. I've never heard a metal vocalist remind me of Michael Jackson before. So I thought that stood out. I thought that was really cool. So for that reason alone, this song was a highlight. Creates a lot of emphasis in the vocals and the lyrics. So I thought that was cool. Where I think this album falls apart the most is the 4-part song, right? So the title track, Charcoal Grace, is split into 4 parts. So tracks 3, 4, 5, and 6 are Charcoal Grace Part 1, Pray. Part 2 is A World Without. Part 3 is Vigil. And Part 4 is Give Me Hell. The only one I liked out of those 4 was the last part, Give Me Hell. And it was mainly due to the ending section of the song because the solo was pretty good riding out the song. The rest of it I felt was kind of boring, especially Vigil, which is just a ballad. There's also another ballad on the album called Sales, which I didn't really like that much. I just find, and prog bands are the only bands that do this that I know, these multi-track songs, they just don't do it for me. They come across pretentious. They just don't really hit the mark for me. In my opinion, write a song, make it a song. You don't need to split it into 4 different tracks.
I mean,
I get why they might do it here and there, but to me it just doesn't work. Especially in this case, it didn't work.
It's either you split it into multiple tracks so you can kind of listen to whatever track you want.
We have done albums before where it's worked. I can't remember what
It was Virus by
Haken. That's the
Haken
one.
did it with the Messiah Complex, and it was amazing. And the reason why it worked as well as it did is because all 5 parts are individuals.
Yeah.
They all give you a unique experience, and it feels like you can listen to the Messiah Complex all as one thing, and it fits as one package. Amazing.
They're like different songs, but they're all named the same.
Yeah, in a sense, it's like you got the different sections, and the Dream Theater did that with six Degrees of Inner Turbulence as well. Same deal. Fantastic, like 42-minute track if you listen to them all together. Yeah. But each individual track is essentially their own song, named their own song too. So they all fit together, but they're all individual songs. That's how you do it properly. I don't think this band really did that properly because I feel like the pacing of that Tetralogy title track didn't really work well because a lot of it was very soft. And not to say that I have an issue with the album being on the softer side in general, because I do think when you're in the right headspace or on the right day, an album like this can hit really hard.
That's true.
I just find that they're not properly, like, think about it. If this wasn't split into 4 parts, it would be like a 20-minute song. But it would be a 20-minute song that doesn't really go anywhere. You look at a 20-minute song like Swim to the Moon by BT Bam, that goes in multiple places. Takes you all around the place, and then they bring it home at the end. This quadruple song did not really do that.
Yeah.
But the juicy parts that were in that song and this album were nice. Now, what I was noticing, like, I heard a little bit of hype behind this album, so I'm like, okay, it's a prog album, all right. I'm a prog guy. Immediately, I got the idea that this band feels like a hybrid between Haken and Tesseract, which is a cool combo. I love both of those bands, but it kind of made me think, you know, does this band really have its own identity if it's just reminding me of, oh, okay, this just sounds just like Tesseract.
That's right.
A lot of the syncopated parts remind me of Tesseract, and then some of the melodic sections remind me of something I would hear from Haken. Even the vocals, tone-wise, remind me of Ross. I didn't think Michael Jackson, but the breath part, like, I can see what you mean. Like, I get that makes sense.
Any Opeth vibes on this? You're a much bigger Opeth fan than me, because I was getting a little bit of Opeth vibes from this.
I see why, like, I see where you're coming from with that. I didn't immediately think of Opeth, but I can see the comparison, especially to, like, Blackwater Park era. Some of the softer stuff on that is similar to this.
Yeah.
I do think Blackwater Park's better, but I think the songs in a vacuum are great. I think if you take an individual song from this album, you'll think, oh, that's a very pretty pretty song, very, very beautiful, well composed. When you put them together, you get a pacing issue of it.
Yeah.
Not really going on that big roller coaster. It's like a really small one when you're not really going to many places. And then they do this filthy syncopated group for a bit, and then you just go back to the same spot. And that's the issue I was having with this album. So a song like Sales, which is a ballad, I think would be beautiful if I didn't feel like I already got that experience earlier on the album.
That's exactly it.
Because, like I said, in a vacuum, it's a gorgeous song.
Yeah.
But by the time you get to that point, you've kind of already heard the vibe that this song brings to you, which is unfortunate because there is a nice energy that comes from songs like that.
That's right.
The solo in Storm Chaser, really, really good. Like that one. Honestly, the track in general, I enjoyed. I kind of feel a similar issue with Mute, which is the closer, it's like a 12-minute track, that I do for the rest of the album is that I feel like I've already gotten this vibe from the rest of the album. This song doesn't really add too much.
It feels like a lot of regurgitated stuff.
It kind of does, and that's unfortunate because it is something pretty. Now, I do want to listen to this album more, though, because I feel like on the right day, or maybe when I'm in the right headspace, this album could probably hit hard.
I think so.
You know? So I am looking forward to trying this album out more in the future to see, how my opinion could change.
Yeah. So on to the last thing we listened to. This is an EP, which we don't review, but we're covering it on a first impression. So Deviloof, Song for the Week. So we reacted to the title track, Song for the Week, recently, and thought it was awesome.
It was
the song
amazing.
Blew us away. The video was really cool. Deviloof, just one of those bands, every time you never know what to expect, and every time they raise the bar.
Yeah.
They deliver.
They're just on an upward trajectory with their content. Every time we've been checking them out, they've just been getting better.
Exactly.
Like last year, they had Damned, which was the EP, and the title track, just Damn. That song was insane.
Yeah.
So like they got back-to-back EPs with a Song of the Year level song on them.
Exactly.
Like,
so, I mean,
wow.
They're just doing the right things, at least as far as we go. So, yeah, I think I mentioned in our reaction too that the title track reminded me of something that came out of the 80s, like hair glam metal era in terms of its composition, but with like a deathcore twist. And then on top of that, a Deviloof twist, because they have their own style. Chorus is catchy, just overall really good song. It went in my playlist right away. One thing that I'll just mention, because we both kind of noticed this about the EP, is that it's mixed quite poorly. Volume-wise, track number 2 is normal volume. Everything else is super quiet.
Everything's quiet except for Everything Is All Lies, which I believe we did react to.
I think we reacted to that as well, yeah.
I think it was a while ago.
It was a long time ago, before Song for the Week for sure, yeah.
So it's just weird that one is like normal volume. Everything else is quiet, and it's like...
Yeah, so basically I had my Spotify cranked, like literally full volume for the whole EP, except for Everything Is All Lies. I turned it back down to the regular volume that I listened at.
We cranked it. But you know what I mean?
As far as the rest of the EP goes, there's a 48-second interlude, which is an odd choice on a 5-song EP. That seemed a bit pointless. I'm not sure why that was there. The highlight for me, though, there's also an instrumental. Right,
yeah.
Track number 5, Labyrinth. There's also an instrumental, which is pretty cool.
So cool.
So track number 4, okay, other than Song for the Week, which is a great song. Track number 4, Execution. The high clean vocals in the chorus. It's like high, not quite falsetto. I don't know all the different singing levels. I used to know like tenor and all that stuff. I used to know them, I can't remember. But it's high, clean vocals in the chorus. What a surprise. They're always bringing new stuff to the table and just making it fucking work. Like, holy crap.
Every song does that. Because think about it, you got Execution, which is like that. Labyrinth is an instrumental where it's just being told, the melody is being spoken to you in guitar solos. That's sick.
Yeah.
You got that title track, which is sick, and then Everything Is All Lies is a good one. Like,
one really cool thing that was happening in Execution, though, is the fucking bass drops that were happening near the end of that song. It was so thick and so just booming, and I love that. It was really like kind of earth-shattering bass, and they do it again more in the instrumental track too. Those bass drops very similar in both songs, but just overall, like, what a solid EP.
Yeah, I wish it was an LP.
Yeah,
I wish. Anyway, as for what we're going to review this week, we considered it. We considered the albums presented today, and there was one album that we unfortunately didn't get the chance to really get a full listen to, but after hearing a little bit of it, we considered, you know what? We're going to review this one instead. So our decision to review for this week is Suffer and Become by Vitriol. We heard some stuff from this album. We liked what we heard, so that's what we're going to go with for this week, and we're going to review it next week. We're going to listen to this album constantly throughout the week, and then give you guys our final review. Anyway, guys, that's all we got for you today. Remember to like this video if you liked it, and tell us in the comments below what is your favorite release from the releases of today. I mean, Deviloof wasn't actually today. It was released on the 24th.
That's right.
Just for reference.
But this week.
But we're still covering it this week anyway. And subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. I'm TV Fish.
And I'm Vile Self.
See you guys later.